Hey there, it's Tracy Cotton from Morrow Insurance Agency in Marion, North Carolina. I hope that you are having a great day today. Just wanted to jump on and do a quick Periscope question of the day. Hey there, I know who that is. Hey Terry, how are you doing? For some of you who might be seeing this replay on YouTube, you won't see some of the people who are actually joining here on the Periscope. And so I thought that I would mention that when I say hello to people or if I answer a question just randomly, it's because these little question boxes come up because these are being recorded from Periscope and then actually put over onto YouTube just because I want a more permanent place to put them. And it's also really easily accessible because we already have a YouTube channel for Morrow Insurance Agency. So just in case you're ever watching one of these and you're like, well, who is she talking to? Well, I'm talking to people like Terry in Austin, Texas. Thanks so much for joining, Terry. The question of the day that I have is actually from a current client. And this current client happens to be in the donut business. He has a cute little donut shop right here in downtown Marion. It's called Mr. Bob's Donuts, and I actually give his name because it's an excellent donut shop. And if you're ever in Marion, North Carolina, you got to stop in. He has a world famous Food Network recognized. Hey, Charlie, nice to have you aboard. World recognized, Food Network recognized donuts at Mr. Bob's Donuts. And so Mr. Bob has a donut shop, and I happen to do the insurance for him because that's my specialty is in small business, and I also work in farm business, farm insurance. And he is wanting to have, not just wanting to, he's already got scheduled a festival coming up in May, and it's going to be called the North Carolina Donut Festival. So any of you who are going to be thinking about being in North Carolina, the 21st of May is going to be the North Carolina Donut Festival here in Marion, and that is a wonderful thing that he's going to have this festival. But the issue being with the festival is that he's hosting it, and it's not part of him being a donut shop. I mean, it's about donuts, and he may sell some donuts there, but he's not in the business. Hey, thanks so much for joining. He's not in the business of actually having festivals. It's not like I'm Mr. Bob's festival program. He actually is just in the donut business. And so the way that his insurance is rated and the coverages that he has are really gay. They're just really geared towards and specifically rated for him being in a donut shop and running mixers and what would happen to his product and what would happen if someone came into his shop. Not what if he's having an entire festival with entertainment and contests and all these other things, including a 5K. There's actually going to be a 5K there too. So I did ask his company. I thought I knew the answer, but I did go ahead and double check. And because it's not part of the scope of what he normally does, and again, this comes back to being, an insurance question that you need to ask your current agent, is if you're in a small business and you regularly have a retail store that just sells shoes, and you decide to host an entire festival or host an entire 5K, are you covered? That can be an issue. And that's because that's not the scope of your normal business. And so even for a nonprofit, because a lot of nonprofits have charity events like 5Ks, wine tastings, festivals, they may have lots of different activities they have in order to be able to raise money. And so raising money is part of being a part of a nonprofit. But if I'm a nonprofit that normally takes in domestic violence people, somebody who's actually a victim, and houses them, that's what I'm in the business of doing, and taking care of victims of domestic violence. I'm not in the business of having 5Ks. Does that make sense? It's definitely a gray area, and it's something that you will want to talk to your insurance agent about if you have a small business and for some reason you decide you want to host a festival or do something really outside the scope of what you normally do as a business. And that could be a nonprofit. Thanks so much, Terry. I really appreciate you chiming in because I know you've probably run across this before. But if you're doing something outside of the scope, as well as not only just a special event, but just keep in mind if you decide to do something completely different, like maybe you are a picture framer and then you decide that you also want to start hauling trash in your spare time. That's two separate things. So definitely check when you decide to have a new venture, decide to host a festival, decide to have a 5K, decide to have a fundraiser for your nonprofit, whatever it is you're doing, check with your insurance agent first, because the current policy you have may not be charging enough. Hey, Reagan, how are you doing? It may not be charging enough, or it may just not cover it at all. It may not be able to even accommodate it. You may need a separate policy just for that event. And a lot of times a single event policy is not going to be very much money because it's just for one day or maybe a weekend type of thing. So check into it. Just, be careful and look before you leap on that, because that is a big issue. And that's something now we've got to go back and we've got to get insurance for Mr. Bob's festival, not just the donut shop. And so I'll have to update y'all later on what happens with that, because I know that I can find coverage. You might just be curious about what it would cover and what it's going to take care of for him. Again, your questions that you may have, this happens to be a current client of mine that had that question, but your questions on small business insurance and farm insurance, I welcome those. If you would just drop me a line. My email address is insurancewisetracy@gmail.com. And again, anytime that you have a question, you can always pick up the phone and talk to your insurance agent. But if you want something just generic, or you would like to see what I have to say about it, I'd be happy to give it a stab. And I certainly thank you so much, Reagan, for putting that information up, insurancewisetracy@gmail.com. Again, the question of the day was just, am I covered for having a 5K if I'm a donut shop? And hey there, how are you doing? And the answer is most likely no, that you probably are not covered for having a 5K if you're not in the business of hosting 5Ks. So definitely check that out with your current insurance agent. And I'll look forward to seeing everybody again for the next question of the day tomorrow. You can catch this on the replay, or as I had mentioned before, these will be available on YouTube underneath the Morrow Insurance Agency YouTube channel. So I just hope that you'll catch it one way or the other. Oh, we've got a quick question from Terry in Austin. What about if you'd attend an event and have a booth? Now that's an interesting one, because if Mr. Bob was just going to be selling donuts at an event, he decided to take his donuts with him, and he's just selling donuts. He's not running a 5K, as in actually like running a 5K, not him running in a 5K. Does that make sense? If he is just going to be giving out a donut to the people coming across the line, or if he's just got a booth, he's probably going to be okay. And actually, that is what the underwriter said when I talked to her about it. He'd be okay if he was just selling donuts at an event. But the fact that he is actually hosting the event, it all is Mr. Bob's North Carolina Donut Festival, is going to put him on the line for some additional things that he is not currently covered for. And so we're going to need to get him additional coverage. So I really do appreciate that question, because that is something that I think a lot of people might not be aware of, is that actually going to events to do your business is very often covered. But hosting an event, actually organizing and being the one in charge and doing all the organization and being basically on the line for it, because it's him saying, this is my event, come to the event. So if that makes sense, I hope it does. Just send me your questions. You've got them. Just drop me a line if that sounds like something you're kind of curious about, that it may apply to you or somebody that you know. Just insurancewisetracy@gmail.com. And again, thanks so much for those of you who are joining today. It's been great seeing you come on. I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow with the next question of the day. And I hope that the rest of your day is a good one. Take care.